It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z. Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at an expansion to one of my favorite games, that is Imperial Settlers, and the expansion Aztecs, a brand new faction for Imperial Settlers. There's been several expansions already for the base game, and there's even been one before that introduced a brand new faction to the ones that came in the box. That was the Atlanteans. And now we have the Aztecs, bringing their own new mechanism, sort of their own new flavor to the overall experience. Now, what are those mechanisms? Does this expansion go toe-to-toe with the other ones? Let's find out. So here's what you get in the box. You're going to get the board for the Aztecs. You are going to get a handful of tokens here. You get the deck for the Aztecs themselves. You get, of course, the rule book there. And then you get cards for all of the other factions as well, including the Atlanteans. Then introduce to each of those factions the concepts brought along with the Aztecs, all right? I'm not going to go over these too much. Just, be aware that they're there. They're cool. They introduce the same things that this does. But I am going to talk about the main mechanisms that the Aztecs brings to the game. And that is blessing tokens, which are all of these tokens here, and the keyword pray, which I'm going to delve into now. The Aztecs produce, among their production here, comes this little token here, this little blessing token, which is just for them, and it has 3 colors right there. All the other ones are single color tokens, and some cards are going to give these to you. Let me set these aside. I'll talk about those in just a bit. So, the main concept here, as I said, is the pray mechanism. So, this card, for example, says on it, action, spend 1 person and 1 food to pray 1, gain 2 victory points, and the matching goods. You cannot use blessing tokens for this. The prayer works like this. I'm going to go to the main deck. I'm going to spend the person, spend the food, and then I'll flip over the top card, and I gain the matching goods. The matching goods are whatever the card type is. So in this case, I would spend a person of food, I would get 2 victory points, and a person, because this card is pink, and pink ties into the little characters. Or I might get a sword from this one, or a food, or whatever the cards might give me, right? That's how the pray mechanism works. And there's a few variations on that. So, for example, this one here says, action, spend 1 person and announce a color. When something says choose a color, that means you do it after you flipped for the prayer. If it says announce, you do it before you flip. So let's do this one here. It says announce a color between brown, gray, and red. Pray 5. And I gain 1 matching resource for each card that match that. Great. So let's say I really need some stone. It's time for me to build up some locations. So I say gray, I spend my person, and I flip over 5 cards, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 1 matching card, which means I get 1 stone. If I had said brown, I get 1. If I had said red, I would have gotten none. So that's how that works. You are kind of pushing your luck, unless you use blessing tokens. The way blessing tokens work is, let's say some cards have given me blessing tokens, like this one, for example, that says production 1 blessing token or 1 card. Let's say I picked a blessing token. Let's say I took the gray one, okay? Now, when this card is triggered, if I choose to trigger it, I can, instead of flipping cards over, I can simply use the blessing tokens I have and say, okay, I'm going to spend a person, I'm not going to flip, I'm just going to say I have 2 gray tokens here, and that's what I flipped. I assume that's what I flipped. And I would just immediately get my 2 stone without having to push my luck, so to speak. Also, and this I didn't explain first, but this is part of it, when you have tokens and you choose to flip cards anyway to do the pray action anyway, you do add the tokens onto what you flipped, but only if you actually hit. So, looking back at our example, if I had said red, for instance, and let's say I have 2 red here. This one is any of the 3 colors, as I said. And this is what I flip. I get none. I get no food. If I had hit with even just 1 red, I would then get 1 and both of these tokens for 3. So that's how that works. You can choose not to push your luck, or you can choose to flip and see what happens, and you get to add on the tokens to that, okay? So that's basically it. That's how the idea works. It's a simple concept, but it is a far-reaching one, and it is in many places in the deck here. You'll find this idea of prey represented, where you are going to flip over some cards, maybe get goods, maybe spend goods to get victory points. There's one that allows you to pray 5, and then for every matching resource that you wish to spend, you get a victory point. And so there's lots of different abilities there. That's basically it for the deck. I do want to mention before we go back up top here that the cards that come from the other factions also utilize the prayer mechanism in very interesting ways. However, there is one card which is completely misprinted because it has the wrong back on it, which I'll talk about more in just a second. But this card here, which has the Japanese back, is an Egyptian card. And so that's an unfortunate printing error, which I already have heard that the company is taking care of. And as I said, I'll talk about it again in my final thoughts here. But I wanted to give you a close-up look at that. So these are very cool as well. That's basically it. Let's go back up top and let me give you some final thoughts. I really liked the Atlanteans expansion when that came out. I thought it was interesting and added something very new to the whole system, to the whole game. But they were definitely quirky. They were sort of an acquired taste to play with them. Some people loved them. Some people thought they were too weird. I was kind of somewhere in the middle, but they definitely were not my favorite faction or anything. The Aztecs here could quite possibly be my favorite faction. They are not as innovative, perhaps, not as out of the box as the Atlanteans. But what they bring to the table, I really like. I love this concept of top decking to get more resources, to make victory points, to look for exactly what you want or not, right? You don't have to do it. You can just go for the safe route. You can say, I'm not flipping cards over. I have 2 of these tokens. I'm going to say I flipped 2, right? And I like that a lot. I usually end up flipping cards over anyway because I like to do it. And it's a push your luck thing. It's the all or nothing thing, right? And it's exciting. It makes for those turns where you flip over 3 of something, 4 of something, and you're like, yeah, I just lucked out. That was an awesome turn for me. And sometimes those prayers are not answered, right? Sometimes you don't get what you want. You get nothing at all. And I like that a lot. I think it's a fantastic mechanism that utilizes colors in the game, utilizes the deck, the common deck, in an interesting and new way, in a simple way, but a way that had not been used before. And I like that a lot. So Aztecs for me is fantastic. A brilliant expansion to a brilliant game already, Unfortunately, as I said, there is one big printing mistake in the game, which is the back of that card for the Egyptians being the wrong back, completely wrong. But I did look into it before I did the review here, and the company is aware of it, and they are going to be printing replacements for printing the corrected card and making those available for free on their website. So that's the word I've heard so far. And if that's so, then this is not as big an issue as it could have been. Unfortunately, it's there. I did want to make everyone aware of it, but it should be something that is resolved quickly and painlessly, So that's it for me, Aztecs. If you enjoy the game at all, you've got to get on this one. This is a fantastic expansion. 2 thumbs way up from me. Very, very cool. Aztecs.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.